And I'm an arthritis warrior. I was diagnosed with juvenile arthritis when I was 13 years old. Growing up, I never met anyone young with arthritis. So, as a young adult, I sought out the Arthritis Foundation. And through volunteering at summer camps in Miami called Camp Fun Rise and Boggy Creek later, and participating in numerous jingle bell runs and walks, I found my voice and a call to advocacy for folks like me. Serving on our Tampa Bay Leadership Board alongside many of my friends, I have found a wonderful arthritis community. Tonight, I have the pleasure to share with you a little bit about the Arthritis Foundation and introduce you to our fabulous guest speaker this evening. The Arthritis Foundation's mission is to boldly pursue a cure for arthritis while also providing vital resources for arthritis warriors to help us live our best life now. To support the arthritis community, the Arthritis Foundation focuses on several key pillars, including scientific discovery, help and support, which are our tools and resources for families, and educational programs such as this one, advocacy and access to care, and community connections through the Live Yes Arthritis Network. Our goal is to offer support and resources to every single arthritis warrior right here in our local communities. One of our most important and current initiatives is the Insights Program, a patient-reported outcome study being conducted by the Arthritis Foundation, which gives those living with arthritis a voice to share their experiences. You can contribute to scientific research by simply completing the quick Insights assessment online and sharing your experiences of living with arthritis at arthritis.org/insights. The data from the Insight study shows 100% of respondents reported pain and 94% of respondents in Florida reported pain interfered with day-to-day activities. We all know this as a part of our lives, but it's very important that the research shows it as well. In response to the persistent chronic pain reported by patients in the study, here in Florida, we've launched a pain management series for 2021. Which you're joining us here tonight for the second session in the series to learn about occupational therapy. Later this year, we hope you'll join us for other topics such as exercise and arthritis and sleep and fatigue. In addition, the Arthritis Foundation is excited to announce the VIM app, a new way to combat chronic pain. With the new app, it's called VIM, V-I-M. You can set achievable goals, manage your chronic pain, and get encouragement from our arthritis community. The app is available on Google Play and in the Apple App Store. Just search VIM, VIM Arthritis or VIM Pain to find the tool. You can also visit arthritis.org/pain to learn more about the app and other Arthritis Foundation pain management tools and resources. On a personal note, I would just like you to know that I am currently recovering from CMC joint surgery that I had on Friday, and I find that VIM app to be wonderful. Every day I go on and say how I'm feeling, and I can see that I've progressed from Friday to today. I've also met other folks that are asking questions about what I had done. It's a great app. I hope you'll join me on there. And now I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker this evening. Before I do, I would like to add just a little personal note. Occupational therapists are very near and dear to my heart. For my daughter is a pediatric OT, and she found her life's calling through my volunteer work with the Arthritis Foundation. So it comes full circle. And now, without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about tonight's speaker. Lisa Cho is an occupational therapist and certified hand therapist who has practiced in the specialty of hand therapy since 1995. She obtained her OT degree and master's in health administration from the University of Florida. Lisa works at Florida Orthopedic Institute and is the manager of the Occupational Therapy Department. She's participated as a speaker in several national conferences in the area of occupational therapy, hand therapy, modalities, and orthodontic fabrication. Lisa has extensive experience in the area of orthopedic injuries and arthritis rehabilitation for both conservative management and post-operative management to allow her patients to return to a better quality of life and independence. We are excited to have her join us this evening, and we will have some time for Q&A at the end. So now, without further ado, Lisa, take it away. Lisa, I think you're muted. We can't hear you.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay. So I've kind of gone, I don't know what's going on. I apologize for the delay, but I'm on my phone voice-wise, but then you're on my screen computer-wise. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so can you hear me now a little better?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, woo. Phew. Okay, I don't like technology, but here we are. So my name's Lisa, and I'm an OT and CHT. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. I've worked in hand therapy, and I've been very passionate through my whole professional life with doing hand therapy for patients that have had injuries as well as arthritis. So I'm very happy to have this opportunity to help you out with the things that I think my patients have told me over the years as what has been the best help with them in helping them to be more independent with less pain in their house and in their daily lives. I hope you find these tricks of the trade helpful and worth your while tonight. So the goal of the program, obviously, is just to introduce different ideas that will make your life overall more independent. We're going to talk about energy conservation, joint protection, adaptive equipment, splinting, and then we're going to end with a little bit of range of motion and exercises. So energy conservation is a really great thing for people to do. We all want to live our lives with the most independence and freedom, as well as the least amount of pain. And when we're diagnosed with something like arthritis, one of the first worries I think everybody has is, how are we going to keep our independence? How will you continue to take care of yourself and do the things that you love to do? And I think that doing things smart is the way to get that done. Understanding energy conservation totally will help you with that. Energy conservation is defined as a method of planning and performing activities so that less effort is needed and less fatigue is felt. And then that can help you with balancing your rest and activity. It is important because arthritic patients oftentimes battle with fatigue. And if you reduce the amount of energy you use while you're doing things, that will reduce your fatigue and possibly reduce the amount of flare-ups you have with your arthritis. So with energy conservation, there's basically just 4 P's: planning, pacing, prioritizing, and positioning. Every day and every week, we have things that we need to get done. Making sure to think about your tasks that you want to do and organize how you're going to get those done in the most efficient way is the key to success. We'll be going over later some of the tools that I think are very helpful in getting things done, but it is important to space out the most demanding tasks that you have, maybe to one demanding task a day throughout the week. I think making a list, using a calendar, trying to get organized with what you want to get done helps you see that you're actually getting things done as you're checking them off the list, but also will give you a sense of accomplishment because you're getting the things done that you want. Knowing yourself and your body are the most important thing. Everybody is different in this area. Some of you have better times in the morning, some of you after a hot shower, some of you are more flexible mid-morning or early afternoon. You got to figure out what's right for you and go with that. Use your best time to do the most strenuous activities. Lastly, in the area of planning, you need to simplify your steps. What this means is, for example, getting all the items that you need at one time out of your pantry when you're going to go cook, instead of walking back and forth from your kitchen to your pantry 5 different times because you forgot the flour or you forgot this or you forgot that. Also remember that when there are things that you're using in your kitchen or in your house frequently, make sure they're close to you. Make sure that your favorite knife is within reach for you so that you don't have to walk across the kitchen to get a tool that you use every day. And the ones that you don't use as much are further away. So for me, I use a toaster very often and I keep that on my counter. I don't even put it away so that I don't have to keep reaching back and forth in a drawer to get the toaster in and out. And then that way I'm not expending energy on things that I don't need to. Pacing. My biggest advice to everybody always is don't overdo. Stop when you're feeling fatigue, not pain. That is an important message, so I'm going to say it again. Stop when you feel fatigue, not pain. If you do that, you'll avoid having your pain flare-ups, hopefully. Take a rest when you need to. Do some stretches or maybe even change your activity. Returning to the more aggressive activity when your joints or muscles have rebounded from the fatigue. Activities such as vacuuming, ironing, and cleaning mean that you're doing the same movement for an extended period of time. And this keeps your hands and your bodies in the same position for long periods, which can increase your fatigue and cause pain. Try to do them for shorter periods or whenever possible, get someone else to do them for you. We're all guilty of wanting to get the job done as fast as possible, but it's not the right frame of mind when you're living with arthritis. Take your time, rest when needed. Power naps are awesome, but longer naps actually can sometimes lead to more stiffness and pain, so be careful with that. Understand that slow motions can be just as forceful to a joint as fast motions. So move at a moderate pace when you're doing activities. Prioritizing. It's so important to know what you want to do during the day and what's the most important thing for you to get done. Prioritizing every day, prioritizing week by week. This is where lists come in handy. I'm a big list person. Not only do I like to see what I need to do, but I love crossing it off so that I can say, oh, look at all these things I did today because half my list is gone. So I think that that's a really good way to prioritize and see what needs to get done. There are daily tasks that need to be done, meals, hygiene, simple tidying up. Then prioritize the bigger tasks for different days of the week. If you find that you're in the middle of a task and need to take a rest, take a rest. There's nobody pushing you with that. Listen to your body. If you find out that you're too tired or sore at the end of a certain task, take a rest at the end of the task. Everything will be waiting for you and there's no rush in getting it done. Maybe put off another aggressive activity for a different day if you thought there would be 2 things you could get done in one day. Remember, there's always people around that want to help you. And you know what? People love helping people. So don't be ashamed to either A, ask for help, or if somebody asks you or offers help, just say yes. A simple thank you goes a long way for people around you that are seeing you struggle daily. And I think that sometimes we just don't say, yeah, I'd love for you to help me with this. And not only that, but I also believe that if you work alongside somebody who's offering to help you, it's way more fun anyways. Being together with people and doing things and getting things done faster and better for your joints is the way to go. And it's always fun to have bonding times with people who want to help you. Positioning. This is a really important one when you're doing things during the day. And really, we just need to think about how to put our bodies in the best position to get the job done. You want to use your body and use your bigger joints whenever able, and try to avoid putting really bad forces through your fingers. And my philosophy I always tell everybody, work smarter, not harder. And that means joint protection. Learning how to protect your joints from further damage is important when living with arthritis. If you practice good joint protection, you should be able to reduce your pain, decrease your wear and tear on the joints, and hopefully reduce deformities that will happen as time goes on. A good rule of thumb is to respect your pain and inflammation. These are the signs and signals that your body needs to take a rest. The basic joint protection strategies to think about with everyday use is try to use the biggest joint possible. So larger joints are going to be able to withstand a lot more force than smaller joints. So when you can use your wrist instead of your fingers, use your wrist. I'll be showing you some examples later. When you can use your elbow instead of your wrist, use your elbow. When you can use your shoulder, use your shoulder. When you're trying to move things around, scoop up objects with both hands. Don't try to just grasp things in your hands, and always try to be palms up, because our biceps are much stronger muscles than our little hand and forearm muscles. And whenever you can, push heavy objects using your body weight rather than pulling or lifting. So here's just an example of closing a door. You can do it with your open hand, but all that force is going through all those little joints in the finger. If you can close the door with a fist, keeping your wrists straight, that's so much better on your joints. Same thing when getting up from a chair, trying not to open up your hand, but making a fist. Using your elbow instead of your wrist. When you're sleeping and trying to get out of bed, you'll see my cute little 15-year-old son helping me with this, but basically, when you're laying down, you can use your top arm to push up in a fisted position and use your bottom arm and push through your elbow instead of putting all the forces through your fingers and your wrist when possible. Use your shoulder instead of your fingers. When you open up a door, instead of pushing open with your fingers, use your body. I usually turn around and use my butt, especially because I have things in my hand, but that's definitely a great way to go, using your body instead of your extremities. And then this is a huge one, scooping with both hands, palms up. When you're holding something, whether it be a pot or a pan or a bunch of folders or a book or anything in your home, when you're holding it in your hand, there's so much torquing force that's pushing your fingers ulnarly, making you just go down that road of deformity a little faster than we need to. If you can get your wrists straight and your fingers straight using two hands instead of one, this will allow you to do so much with less force and less pain. The next example is a simple squeezing of a sponge. So many times we just take a sponge and we make a fist and we squeeze it out, and that's so much harder on our joints rather than just pressing it between both of our hands. So joint protection for lifting, whenever we're getting around in our environment, we always move things and lift things around. Again, lifting with two hands instead of one whenever possible. Scooping palms up, we already talked about. Using two-handed pots and pans, or just using two hands when you're trying to lift a pot or pan, and slide instead of lift. If I need to get something across the kitchen, let's say I'm cooking with flour and I have a 5-pound flour bag, I just push that flour across my counter instead of lifting it up so that I don't have to hold it, and that's nicer to the joints. When we're writing is a big thing. So, we like to write our names. We like to write letters. I mean, I do. I'm still old school. But anyways, typing. But writing is good. So if we use ballpoint pens, we have to bear down on that pen a lot. And that's a lot of joint energy that we're using, and we're bearing down through those joints. So using larger handles is going to allow us to use less muscles to control, using a roller ball instead of a ballpoint, reducing the bearing down. A lot of us have a habit of pushing down as hard as we can when we're writing. And really, that's where the roller ball comes into play, because you don't have to bear down on a pen that is a roller ball versus a ballpoint. So you can start breaking that habit of high energy use when writing. And always, always, always take breaks. If you're starting to get tired or your hands feels like it's starting to cramp, take a break. It'll be waiting for you when you come back. So carrying bags and purses are another thing that are really hard on the hands. Whenever possible, using two-strap backpack and evening out the weight on your shoulders is the best way to carry a purse for the women out there. And just wanting to grab things and carry things around, backpacks are the way to go. Using it on both shoulders, not just one. The next best thing is a crossbody bag, because that'll disperse the forces through, again, the shoulders and the arm and the body instead of through the hands. When carrying grocery bags, I know we're sometimes guilty of trying to hold as many grocery bags as we can in our hands. And really, I just have to encourage you to not do that. You can use your forearms to carry the bags, or better yet, use one of those fancy handles right there. Because if you notice in that picture with the red handled thing that has the grocery bags on it, her fingers are in a straight alignment and her wrist is straight as well. So that's going to be better joint protection. But the best of all is to get a rolly cart. Get all those things into one place and push them where you're going. That is such a great thing. And then a cute little rolly cart going from your pantry to your kitchen, if there's a lot of steps away like there are in my house, is another great way to do that, to reduce the amount of force in your hands. Cooking. Sharp knives are necessary. You must be careful so you don't cut yourselves, but the sharper your knives are, the less force you have to use bearing down through whatever you're cutting. So just go slow, be careful so you don't cut your other hand, but sharper knives are better. Using a food processor whenever available is totally the way to go. Avoid chopping at all costs, because that's a repetitive task that sometimes takes a long time and puts a lot of force through our hands. Holding a spoon when we're stirring with a full grasp, as opposed to the position in that picture where we're, again, encouraging our fingers to go ulnarly, is huge. I actually incorporate all of this in my daily life, because I know that I need my hands to last me for at least another, hopefully 15 years before I can retire. So that's super important. And again, you'll see me always say rest, rest, rest as needed. And the other thing that we don't think about is, why can't we do all of our prep work while we're sitting at our kitchen table? Like, who says we have to use our kitchen counters and stand the whole time when we're cooking things? Sit when you can for all the prep work. It'll reduce your fatigue and it'll increase your tolerance for work. So I think one of the things that makes OTs really unique is that we are so well trained in adaptive equipment. And there's so many different things out on the market that can help people, but don't get sucked down that rabbit hole and buy thousands of things. If you're working with an OT or a PT already, just having a small, a short conversation saying, these are the things that are the hardest, and we can kind of guide you in telling you what the best things that we've seen out on the market to help you make those small everyday tasks easier. But I'm going to give you, just in case you aren't already working with therapists, some ideas of what my patients have told me over the years as the most helpful for them. So simple changes. Lever doors are so much easier than regular traditional doorknobs, because you can use your whole hand and then use your arm weight to open them, as opposed to grasping and twisting, and again, encouraging that ulnar deviation of our fingers. If it's not time to change your doorknobs, which can definitely be pricey, there are things that you can purchase online that can help you change your doorknobs that are round to a lever, which is the first picture there. Then there are also, portable ones so that you can just keep them with you if that's what you so choose, and you can put them on doorknobs as you're going by. So that's the center. And then there's also other different adapters that you can use for knobs for your stove and the grill and different things like that, just to ease the way that you have to use to turn them on and reduce the forces with pinching in your hand. Adaptive writing tools. So again, this is dealer's choice here. A lot of people have different ideas, and I say, buying different pens usually is only a couple bucks. So you just kind of have to find what works for you. But the one that's blue that uses the index finger resting in the middle helps reduce the amount of force that goes through the CNC joint on your thumb. And so your index finger helps lead that and reduces the amount of pinching. I've actually seen that pen at Walmart, so you don't even need to go to Amazon to try to find it. Using bigger, fatter pens, I have an example here of just a fat pen. The fatter the pen and the bigger the pinches, the less force that goes through all your joints. Sometimes simply just building up the handle by buying one of those little grippers that you can slide on your favorite pen is the way to go. And something that's very easily found everywhere nowadays is a Dr. Grip, and they come in that roller ball like I was telling you, so you don't have to bear down when you're writing. Kitchens. Well, I could probably talk for 20 minutes on kitchen stuff, but I'll keep it simple. When it's time to upgrade your kitchen appliances or your kitchen tools, look for this brand. It's called Good Grips. You can find it at Target. I know you can find it at Bed Bath & Beyond, and of course, Amazon. Anything that you have that's a tool in your kitchen, the bigger the handle, the better for your hand. So just as it's time, and maybe you need a new pizza cutter or maybe you need a new peeler, Good Grips have a ton of different things out on the market, and they're so good for your joints because of the bigger handles. Again, we were talking earlier about the kitchen options. The two-handled pots and pans are so important to disperse the weight between both hands. So here's just some examples. The middle example, I know, like when we make pasta and we want to pour out the water, it's so hard to have the strainer on top and pour out the pan or pot. So if you have a lid that locks in place and has a little lip, it's so much easier because you can hold that pot or pan with two hands. And if you like to do a lot of sauces or soups on the stove, there are things that will allow you to lock your pot or pan in place, and that's really what that is showing you. It's just suctions to your cooktop, and that way you don't have to hold your pot or pan while you're stirring. And then that way you can stir with taking a break and using other, both hands to cut down the work. I will say just in passing that the person who's holding that spoon is not the way I like it. I just couldn't find the right picture where you're holding it like this instead. Again, kitchen solutions, mini choppers. Those can be picked up at Walmart for under $15. If you do a lot and you need bigger things, then having a food processor is the way to go. But if you don't do that much, just using the manual one on the end there is a good way to go, so that you don't have to do too much chopping, and you can use your hands and your body weight to close that down, which is going to be less force on your small joints in your hand. So jar openers and bottles. So you can get really technical. So this first one is called a Robo Twist. I personally just found that when I was researching what was out there new and on the internet, and it got really good write-ups. I haven't personally used it myself, but basically that tool you just set on top of the jar and you get it all locked into place and push the button and it breaks the seal for you. The other thing, which is in the middle, is just a multi-handle for a bunch of different shapes. So you can have different bottles all the way down to a water bottle or bigger, and you can just grip onto the bottle and then use your body to twist the jar open. But my favorite, hands down, I tell every single one of my patients, whether you have arthritis or you want to avoid arthritis, is this under the counter jar opener. It opens everything. I have one in my kitchen. I just redid my kitchen a couple years ago, and I actually bought a new one just so that I had it in my kitchen. And so it's just this little disc, okay? And it sets underneath your counter, underneath your cabinets, and it comes with double-sided tape that you can just mount on there. And then instead of using one hand to open the top of the jar and one hand to keep the jar still, you can hold the jar with two hands and then just twist it. And it is so much better for your joints. And I can open anything now. I don't have to find my kids or my husband to do it. Scissors. I'm a big proponent for using scissors when I can instead of knives, because I think that just holding scissors in the hand is easier and you can do the job quicker. So I have my own kitchen shears that are just used in my kitchen, and then I have scissors for everything else. I'm also an avid crafter, so I have crafting scissors that nobody's allowed to touch as well. So scissors, scissors, scissors. One of the things that some people even tell me, though, is that scissors hurt. So there are scissors out there that actually have spring opens. They're made by Fiskars, and you can buy them online for $15. And basically, they just spring open. So all you would have to do is close them, and then they automatically spring open. So right there, you're reducing your energy out expenditure by 50% because you don't have to open the scissors. They open for you. And again, sharp tools. Sharp scissors helps you cut through things as well. The middle picture is just what are called loop scissors. They do exactly the same thing. And you can usually find them for about the same price. And whenever you can, if you're an avid sewer or quilter and you're cutting materials, use a rotary blade. That way you can just hold on to it and push with your body weight instead of all those little joints. So we've already talked about building up handles, and really that's the key to everything. If you can make a handle bigger, it's easier to grab, and it's less force and it's less energy required to hold on to things. So the middle picture is just build up grippers, and you can purchase them online. You can purchase them through different medical supplies, but I've had patients just go to Home Depot, find the pipe insulators, and use those with a little bit of tape. And so that's a very economical way of getting your handles bigger in your kitchen. And you can put a hairbrush in there, you can put a toothbrush in there, whatever you need. The L-shaped knife, if you love cutting, is just a better way to cut because it puts your wrist and your fingers in a better position because of the type of grasp you use. And then on the other side is the rocker knife. Again, everything goes back to how you're gripping and what kind of joint forces are going through. And whenever you can make a fist and keep the wrist straight and the fingers straight, that's the way you want to do it. So the rocker knife is the same way. You hold on to it with a straight wrist and straight fingers, and then just use your arm to cut the meat. And they're very surprisingly effective. So another thing that's good to have is what's called DICEM, and basically it just helps you grip onto things so you don't have to squeeze so hard. It also can be used on your counter to stop things from sliding. So if you're cooking and you want to stir something, putting your bowl on a piece of DICEM means that you don't have to hold the bowl in place as well or as much, and that reduces your force. And then of course it helps you if you don't have the jar openers to take, grab and increase your grip forces without the energy and used to gripping. So we're going to move on to splinting. There's so many splints to choose from. It's hard to know what's right. You just have to figure out what you're trying to do. What's the goal of the splint? And there's different reasons for us to splint for patients. Positioning at night to put you in a good rest position so that your wrists and your joints can recover for the next day of use. Do we want to splint to support the type of use that you're using in your hands? Or do we simply just want to keep our hands warm? Because when our hands are warm, they usually feel better. So again, it goes back to patient preference, and there's so many to choose from, but I'm going to show you a few of what my favorites are for my patients with their feedback of telling me. iMac gloves for neutral warmth. They're very thin cotton gloves that allow you to just have your fingertips free, but keep your fingers and your joints warm. You can pick them up at Walgreens. They're like $15 for a pair. They're very durable. And if you like your hands to be warm or your hands tend to be cold and achy, you'll find that these are a nice way to keep your hands warm. The biggest thing when you're putting gloves on, if you're wanting to use your hands, is having your fingertips free. If you can't feel what you're doing, you're not going to be able to use your hands efficiently. So having the fingertips cut out for functional glove wearing during the day is huge. At night, if you're just putting them on to keep your hands warm, you can have the fingertips enclosed. It really doesn't make a difference. But during the day, you want to have your fingertips free so you can use your hands better. There are a lot of different, okay, let me back up. One of the most common pains that people have in their hand is the CMC joint, or the base of the thumb. So trying to manage being able to use the hand by reducing the amount of force through that joint is so important. There's a lot of different splints out there, but two of the most comfortable and low profile and cost-effective ways are this splint sold by 3 Point Products called the CMC Thumb Care Splint. And it comes with a little liner like it's shown in that picture, and you can wear it with the liner or without the liner, and it has a little bit of a support at the CMC, or the base of the thumb, which helps with, which helps with supporting that joint, which is the one that's most commonly painful in the hand. Another very common splint is the Push Metagrip. The price point on this splint is a little bit higher. However, I think it is completely awesome. And I've honestly never had a bad patient feedback when they've ordered this splint. So you can go to, if you just type in Push, it'll show it, it'll bring you to the website. And it's just this little splint that has a little wire or metal stay in this area that will allow you to pinch it for better conforming through that joint, or stretch it out so that it's comfortable for you. Our thumbs are so important in our function of our hand, and we need our muscles to contract to stabilize the bone, but we also need our thumb to be able to move, to be able to grasp things. And both of the splints that I just showed you are a great way to stabilize the CMC joint while allowing your thumb to move. So here's just a picture of people using that push brace, opening jars, opening up bags, and then even using shears in their garden. So I think that this is a really good thing to think about. And Push also has other products. If you have arthritis, we all don't just have arthritis in the base of our thumb. We have them in our fingers. We have them in our wrists. So putting on a light wrist brace that's very low profile may be something that you just need to do when you're doing certain tasks during the day. So those are functional splints. A lot of times you can buy yourself better function during the day by putting yourself in a good position at night. So there are a lot of different positioning splints out there, but here's 3 common splints that we use. The first 2 are not custom made, although the one in the middle, you can kind of bend the metal inside to make it comfortable for your hand. And it will just allow you to go into what we call a resting position, where all your joints are at rest and in good alignment to help decrease deformity, as well as put your joints in a good position to rest for your use during the day. The last splint that's on the end that's white is actually a custom molded splint. You do need to have a prescription from your doctor to get one. And insurances will cover all 3 if you have a prescription. The first 2 can usually be purchased at any DME company, such as West Coast Brace and Limb or Hanger or any of those companies out there, as well as the occupational therapist can get those. But the OTs definitely are specialized in custom molded splints as well. So of course my heart's going to be with the last one. There's also a company called Silver Ring Splints, and this is for people who have a lot of arthritis in their fingers. As arthritis progresses, you sometimes can get hypermobility in joints, and you lack the stability in the joints. And these splints are very pretty, as you can see, low profile, and they allow for motion while not being obtrusive. And the company actually was founded by a OT that actually has rheumatoid arthritis, and she was having a lot of trouble and started designing these splints, and it was brilliant. And nowadays with the internet, you can go on to Etsy and just type in silver ring splints and find really cool knockoffs. And some of my patients have used those as well. But if you want them covered by your insurance company, if you come to me with a prescription, I can fit you for them and we can bill through your insurance company. So these are great alternative ways to put on splints that are pretty and also allow your fingers great motion. So that's going to bring us to arthritis. When you have arthritis, it is so important to move. People tend to think if it hurts that you shouldn't move it, but that is not the right attitude to have. And that actually leads to further stiffness and functional limitations. Movement is so important. But let me tell you, pain is not. So you don't have to move through pain. In fact, when you are moving, you should not have pain. Just don't hold things still. So move in gentle range of motion, because if you move gently, your arc of motion will increase and it will be less painful and you'll be able to do things. Strength and flexibility are key to function. You always need to respect your fatigue, though. I know I've said it repeatedly tonight. Take a rest when you need to. We are our biggest advocates and we are our worst enemies. So just make sure you listen to your body. Always exercise within your tolerance. Don't ever push through anything. Exercise should never be painful. It just should be encouraging you to keep the range of motion that you have and hopefully get a little bit more if your joints let you. It is best to partake in a low impact exercise, such as water aerobics or biking instead of running. The benefits for exercise, there's so many of them. Strengthening your muscles around your joints have been shown to decrease the wear and tear of the joints and increase your stability to be able to do things. Exercise has also been shown to maintain bone strength as we age. Exercising increases your energy throughout the day, and it helps you sleep better because you've burned up the energy and you've made yourself tired to get better rest. It can help control your weight, which will reduce the amount of force through your joints and lessen your pain. And of course, improving balance is so important to prevent falls and fractures from happening. And when you exercise, you are always improving your balance. So what can we do to make ourselves move better and to get better and maintain the motion? Tendon gliding exercises are awesome for your hand. Again, moving within your tolerance, starting with your fingers open and going into what we call a hook fist and just doing that exercise. And then moving into a full fist and open. And then what we call a straight fist, where the fingertips are laying flat. We have tendons that move our fingers at every level of our hand. So doing those three positions maximize the tendon gliding or the flexibility of each specific joint. So they're all important. Moving the wrist forward and backward and moving our elbows forward and backward is important. To just take a few minutes in the morning, maybe a few minutes in the afternoon, to make sure that you're gaining your full range of motion. Functional range of motion and full range of motion are two different things. So when we are using our hands during the day or using our arms, we're not going through a full range of motion, and it's still important to try to do that. And then in closing, thanks for hanging in there with me. Thumb stabilization exercises and stretching. It is so important to stretch the thumb. As we get arthritis in our hands, the thumb tends to adduct or come into our palm, which then increases to instability at the base of our thumb. We need to make sure that we have the ability to open up our thumb. So an adductor release, just taking your other hand and simply pressing in the web space helps relieve the tightness of those muscles, and it helps you get your hand around things. But I know that usually we have arthritis, it's bilaterally. So if you just get a chip clip and you just take that chip clip and you clip it right there in your hand, that's one way to do it. Stretching the web space is also important. You want to just take your other hand and gently stretch it open. Again, these stretches should not be painful. Go to the point where it's comfortable. Making a C, that's really important. Our hand, again, our thumb tends to want to sneak into our palm and we need it out. So making that C is important. Maintaining it so you can get it around a jar or a glass. And the last thing is making sure that we have the ability to have our muscles move our thumb out. So not only stretching it with our other hand, but making sure that our muscles are still firing correctly. So one little game that I always play is just making that face and just making sure that your thumb can roll out, around, and then back up. So that right there is essential. It gets these muscles working, it rests those muscles, and it'll allow you to get your hand around things that you need. So that wraps up my little bit of information. I hope that you guys found it helpful. I think I'm gonna somehow turn this back over for some questions and answers.
Sure. All right, so thank you, Lisa. You shared so much helpful information, and I know everyone will benefit from. Now we'd like to open it up for some questions. You can use the chat function, which some of you have already, to type in your questions, or you can just come off, raise your hand and come off mute. But let's do this. First of all, let's start with some questions that were already submitted during registration. Let's do those first, and then we'll move towards the ones that are in the chat box, and then I'll open it up to anybody. All right. So here's the first question. You kind of answered this already, but you answered a part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and say the whole thing. All right. What suggestions do you have around grip issues and loss of flexibility? I think that's the important part, the loss of flexibility.
Right. So there's never a better time to start moving than now. So just start doing simple range of motion exercises to try to maintain what you have. And sometimes our muscles tend to get tight around joints, and our joints are not as bad as we think they are because our muscles are tight. So doing gentle stretching and tendon gliding exercises really should help you increase your grip ability. Not necessarily getting, you know, a squeezy ball and squeezing it 100 times a day, because that may wear out your joints, but just gentle motion.
Okay. Another question is, I'm unable to tolerate oral medications and cannot continue to get cortisone shots. I'm exploring stem cell. Can you advise on any pros and cons?
So that's not really going to be my area of expertise, because that would be a better conversation to have with your physician, unfortunately, or just because I don't really feel like I've got the best knowledge in that area. I will, however, tell you that there's a lot of homeopathic topical stuff that can help decrease inflammation. And I would encourage you to just go to one of the health food stores that has a nutritionist there. Usually the good ones have them. I'm lucky enough to live in Tampa, and we have one really close to where I live called Abby's. And although unfortunately Abby passed away, the people who are running that store really have great information, and there's so many new things coming out. There's also a lot of like essential oils that you can put on topically that can be very helpful. And there's, you know, nowadays CBD oils and CBD lotions have also been shown to have a great effect on decreasing inflammation and pain.
Yeah, those are good suggestions. Also, here's another question. What are some holistic solutions for inflammation? Any advice on nutrition?
Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of buzzwords out there now, and there's a lot of things that people are talking about, you know, oh, this causes inflammation, that causes inflammation, and, you know, complex carbohydrates and alcohol and different things like that. But I really think that getting with a nutritionist is the best thing to do, because I think they can take a better look at what's going on with you, and that's really going to be their more area of expertise.
All right, some of the other questions that were submitted earlier, you covered. Like somebody asked, I just want to make sure it gets out there in case anyone's on and thinking I didn't answer their, I didn't ask their question. But somebody asked, what are some joint exercises for better finger mobility? Well, you covered that.
Yep.
Somebody else asked, my fingers are deformed and I experience great pain at times. Is there anything I can do to prevent myself from hitting my fingers?
Okay, so that's actually a really good one.
Yeah.
So, you know, moving slower is one of the keys, but it's always Murphy's Law. When something hurts, you tend to whack it. We actually tend to whack ourselves all day long. It's just that when we whack ourselves and it doesn't hurt, we don't notice. So there are definitely, if you put a glove on, that'll give you one layer of protection. And there are different, like, if let's say you hit your elbow and your elbow is very inflamed and you have really bad arthritis in your elbow, there are actual elbow pads that you can get to stop you from hitting it all the time. So there are definitely things out there to try to pad, like just different sleeves and different paddings. So I definitely think that's a great idea to do to decrease, whacking your arm when you inevitably walk through a doorway.
And then in the chat, there was a lot of conversation about where to find the handle thing for the bag, and somebody gave some suggestions, so they were helping each other out. But then someone asks gardening shears suggestions. If you had any suggestions for gardening shears.
Yeah, so there really are really good gardening shears that are ergonomically set up for more success. First off, don't use dull blades. That's the first thing. And then the bigger the handles, the better. So if you just go into Home Depot now, the world is like so much better than it was 10 years ago. And they have different handled gardening shears, and you just have to find the ones that fit for you. But the larger the handle, the softer the handle, the less force that's going to occur, that's going to go through the joints.
And then the last question that we have here is, because a lot of people are saying that this was very helpful. Thank you so much. So that's great. But also Sunshine would like to know, where are you located to see patients?
Right. So I actually work for Florida Orthopedic Institute. We have a ton of different locations around the Tampa Bay area. I'm specifically at what we call our South Tampa office, which is on Cypress and Dale Mabry. I would love to work with anybody. That's super exciting. The one hard thing is that in order to get to Florida Orthopedic in the therapy department, we only see our own physician referrals. So it is definitely a little bit trickier if you have a rheumatologist or you have just a primary care, and they have given you a prescription to go to occupational therapy for eval and assessment. I definitely have great friends in the community. I've been here a very long time, and I'm totally happy to get you guys in with other therapists within, the Tampa Bay area, if that's what need be. So you don't necessarily have to come to Florida Orthopedic if you don't need a specialist.
All right. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you everyone for taking the time to join us this evening. We hope that you leave feeling a little more educated and definitely empowered. We encourage you to continue to be connected with us at the Arthritis Foundation after this program. Be sure to get the new VIM app from the Arthritis Foundation for a helpful and innovative pain management tool in the App Store, and to take the online insights assessment to share your experience of living with arthritis and help contribute to the study of arthritis.org/insights. The Arthritis Foundation is a volunteer-led organization, and volunteers are the heart of this organization. I know, I am one. And it is through your support that we are able to fulfill our mission and to expand our reach to those that need the most care. Us, the arthritis warriors, us and our families who see us struggle every day, and sometimes they can help and sometimes they just suffer watching us. So it's really important that we have this community. If you're interested in learning more about volunteer opportunities, please reach out to us. We will put you in contact. We'll put the contact information in the chat. Thank you again for joining us this evening, and have a great night, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.